Thousands off sticker, no negotiating, the price is the price. Employee pricing won't last, but Siltar always has something great coming. 66 years of finding ways to take care of Colorado. See all that is available at sthmotors.com, Highway 36 and Wadsworth. Siltar Motors. Get everything you want out of a dealership.
Summer should be a time of joy for children, but Wish kids often miss out due to their illness, creating a dark chapter during a time that should be filled with sunshine and memories. A wish from Make-A-Wish Colorado can change everything for these children, giving them the strength and hope they need to persevere in their fight against critical illness. My name is Carrie Fletcher. I'm part of the Alpine Bank family, member FDIC. Today, Alpine Bank hopes you'll decide to make a life-changing impact in the life of Colorado Wish kids by supporting Make-A-Wish Colorado. There are currently more than 450 Colorado kids with critical illnesses who are waiting for a life-changing wish, and 110 more kids will be diagnosed this summer. You can help make their wishes come true. Visit wish.org/Colorado to help Make-A-Wish Colorado grant some memorable wishes this summer.
Progressive provides protection for your boat and other outdoor vehicles so you can explore new things.
Oh, I can finally try pesto.
We meant like water skiing.
I've just never had pesto.
Or maybe take the boat somewhere new.
I mean, is pesto spicy or sweet? Oh, guess we'll find out, right?
Right. Bundle home or auto insurance with your boat, RV, or motorcycle and stay protected with Progressive while you explore.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not ready for pesto.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Your windows are calling.
They have something to say.
Here's the truth. The window's only part of it. In Colorado, even a great window can fail if it's not installed right. That's what really determines what lasts. That's why I trust Gravina's Window Center of Littleton. Installation is where the conversation starts. They've served Denver and the Front Range for over 50 years, and right now, get 25% off Infinity by Marvin Windows. Visit windowsforyourhome.com. That's windowsforyourhome.com.
Colorado, make sure your AC is ready for summer. 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning offers repairs, replacements, and tune-ups 24/7. Book at onehouraircolorado.com or call 855-1-HOUR.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. Powered by Regen RX. It's The Drive with Zach By and Philip Lindsay. Welcome to Denver Sports Tonight. Taking a look at the biggest stories in Denver sports. From your online home for the best opinions and information on the Broncos, Nuggets, Avalanche, Rockies, and more. DenverSports.com.
It is Denver Sports Tonight on a Monday in the Mile High City. I'm Dante Gomez. That's Mike Rice. How you doing today, Mike?
I am well, Dante. Good to be back with you, my friend.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. You were off on your vacation there. How did that go?
It went great. Big excursion. First to the thriving metropolis of Ogden, Utah, for a baseball tournament. Then on to California for a week on the Central Coast, which is... if you've never done it, it's really one of the most underrated parts of California. It really is. Everybody thinks of San Francisco and L.A. Central Coast is my kind of pace now.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
It is.
I like it. Yeah, no, anywhere from like Santa Barbara to Santa Cruz, still just as beautiful.
Yeah, and
it doesn't quite get the same kind of foot traffic as L.A. or San Francisco would.
Not to that degree, although during the summer with the PCH now open all the way through for the first time in like 3 years, it's a little more crowded. Okay, a little bit more. Okay. It's awesome, though. It's awesome.
No, it sounds like a great trip. Are you guys a good road trip family. Everyone kind of plays their role, and you got someone doing the navigation, you got someone playing the music. Everyone gets their snacks, not too much complaining or anything like that.
The boys get their snacks. I double typically as the driver and navigator. I've just learned it works better that way. I'll leave it at that.
Are you also the music decider?
No, I'm pretty much somebody else decide on the music.
Okay.
And I just kind of zone out and do my driving and take them where everybody needs to go. And I'm fine with it.
It seems like you guys got a good system down.
Yeah. I've learned that when you defer as on road trips, life just gets a whole lot better. It's just much smoother, much easier, and much more apt to get along.
All right, I like it. Yeah. Well, it is June 29th here, and typically we would not have too much to talk about. However, oh my, do we have a lot to talk about. We have Nikola Jokic rumors. We have Payton Watson rumors, what kind of contract he's going to get. The morning show earlier today with Mike and Mark talking about Hunter Goodman getting that extension done. Me and Mike are going to get into all of that over the next hour here. Feel free to hop in as well. 303, Mike, help me out here. 303-713-1043.
That's it.
Hop in on the text line as well, the RamosLaw.com text line. But we are going to start with what to me is the biggest story of the day, Nikola Jokic, and the rumors coming out from various NBA reporters that he may not sign his extension this offseason. Mark Stein, as well as others, reporting that. However, Jokic only has one more year left on his deal as is. He does have a player option for the following year, so up to 2 years on his current deal, but hardly ever would you see a player of Nikola Jokic's status go into that player option and not get re-upped prior to that. So what was your first reaction to hearing that maybe Nikola Jokic is playing a little bit of hardball here with the Nuggets?
It doesn't surprise me. And I think the biggest question for me, Dante, is what do I think Nikola's really thinking? It's really hard to get a read on him. And full disclosure, I'm not around him, so I don't know other than, what I hear of him and his personality. When he said after the season that we're not close to a championship, and I'm paraphrasing, that and then the comment about, well, if this would have happened, this type of season or this type of playoff result would have happened in Serbia, everybody would get fired. Those are two telling comments, and we're at the time. We talked about them. I know many people did. And, man, I don't know. I could see him playing the card of, I want to see what the Nuggets do before, and he doesn't have to sign. We know that, but it's. I will say I'm concerned. Am I freaking out? No, but much like the Bo Nix ankle situation, this bears watching. This bears monitoring about what transpires, how the Nuggets organization reacts, and I got to tell you. You and I have talked about this, that I am, when I look at this from Nikola's perspective, I say, why would I want to sign other than this is the only organization I've been with and I want to stay there, which I do think matters to him. So there's a lot of layers to it. That's a long-winded way of saying I'm concerned about the situation.
Yeah, and we've heard him come out and say that I want to be a Denver Nugget forever, or for life, or however he exactly phrased that. But either way, the ultimate goal of what he was saying there was that he wants to be a member of this Nuggets team for a very long time. So it's clear that that's his intentions at least, but I think it's fair on Jokic's side, and that's what you were just saying there, that if you're looking at it from his point of view, maybe it does make sense to not sign right now, see what the Nuggets are going to do, maybe pressure them a little bit, and we had that full-out conversation on the drive here. Yeah. Do you think this is a leverage tool against the Nuggets to make sure that they are going into that luxury tax, or maybe signing a specific player that he wants, or maybe trading a player away that he doesn't want here in Denver? Do you think this is Nikola Jokic maybe taking a page out of LeBron James's book a little bit and adding some pressure from the player to the organization here?
I think it's certainly possible, and I think it's especially possible through the lens of his agent. Is Nikola that way personally? I don't really know. I don't know that he's motivated as much by legacy and all those things as a lot of guys are. At least he doesn't come across that way, and we know that. But from the standpoint of his agent, yeah, I could see where his agent is saying, okay, and I don't know this, I'm speculating. I could see where his agent will be saying, we've got to look at every angle here. This is your legacy. This is how you will be remembered. This is a big extension in terms of how many basketball miles you have left, especially in your prime. Do I think he's going to retire in 2 years? I don't. Do I think he could be playing for another 6 or 8? I do. But at what level? I mean, that then becomes a question. So I'm not going to go all the way to saying it's a full leverage ploy because Jokic has never really acted in that way. But I also will acknowledge it's a different point in his career now. He's not the young superstar or young, rising superstar who is an MVP candidate or has, air quotes, only won one, that kind of thing. This is a premier, if not the premier player still in the NBA. And if he's not thinking in that way, I think his agent is telling him to.
So do you think it's all about basketball, though, this decision and these rumors here that he might not sign the extension? Do you think it has to do only with things on the floor and maybe the Nuggets making sure that the Nuggets build the best roster around him? Or would you even expand that out to the head coach that they hired a year ago, the GMs that they brought in, maybe even the practice facility or anything like that, where he sees these other teams that have beautiful, brand new buildings and the Nuggets are still in a practice facility that they've been using for a while here, one of the older practice facilities in the NBA, as well as the other things that go along with that in terms of the weight room, the training room, all of that above. Do you think it's kind of everything all-encompassing here, or do you think it's strictly, I want to see what they do with this roster this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's primarily it. Here's what I don't think it's primarily about, and that's the money. If I had to ask you, Dante, how much do you think Nikola Jokic has earned from basketball in his career?
I would guess let's go like 200, 210.
Almost 305.
Wow.
So if you're talking about an extra $100 million on top of another 260, the extension is going to put him over $500 million in basketball earnings. That's not including, my understanding, endorsement money. So again, I mean, an extra $100 million. We're tossing it around like it's a video game, right? I think it again, this is a total guess. If it were me in his shoes, it would be about how many more championships can I realistically win? And if he's looking at it through that lens, I think the Nuggets are really in a tough spot, especially if they're committed to staying out of the repeater tax, staying out of the luxury tax, staying out of the aprons, avoiding a $200+ million tax bill. I think they better be really careful about the, as Ben Tenzer sort of deadpanned, the relationship that they have with Nikola. And I think Nikola has the leverage when it comes to all of that. And if he's willing to play hardball, I think the Nuggets are in trouble if they're not willing to spend money on tax bills. How do you see it?
Well, I see it pretty similarly, and that's what I actually wanted to get to next was the luxury tax, the repeater tax there. And I was, let's call it 80%, 20%. I was 80% in the camp of I don't think they're going to go into the repeater tax here. I think that's changed a little bit for me. I think I'm closer to 60-40 at this point in terms of 60% chance they still don't go into the luxury or the repeater tax there. But I'm definitely more open to that being a possibility now with this ownership. And it didn't feel like that's the road they wanted to go down, but it almost feels like Nikola Jokic is strong-arming them into that decision of, hey, you guys are going to spend money on this roster because I am one of the 3 to 5 best players in the NBA or in the world at basketball, and you guys owe it to me. And Josh Kroenke has said as much that we owe it to Nikola Jokic during the prime of his career to give him a team around him that can win a championship. And I think going into the luxury tax or the repeater tax there is part of that. We owe it to him to do that. Where are you at with this team's potential to go into that repeater tax? Where were let's say where were you at 2 weeks ago, and where are you at today with the chances that they do that?
Same place. I'd be stunned if they did. It hasn't been the history of the organization, hasn't been the history of the ownership group, and I don't see why it would be now. And it's very concerning when you look at and hear some of the reports about here as we're on the eve of NBA free agency and trades starting to happen and all of that. It's very concerning about how other teams are working overtime to improve their chances, and the Nuggets seemingly are doing nothing. Now, I'm also willing to wait. I'm also willing to see, as I'm sure Nikola is. And oh, by the way, on the career earnings deal, the almost $305 million, because this is pertinent, does not include the final 2 years of his current deal, which is another 121. So if you add through the current contract, his basketball earnings will be $426.5 million. Now, if the extension, and I'd have to look, if the extension is on top of that of 260, I mean, he's pushing $750 million right there. And that's pertinent because all that's left for Nikola is titles. I don't know if he looks at it that way, but if I'm Nikola looking at it that way, and I see sort of the way the offseason is starting, and I see the way the organization is set up with Adelman coming back, a very inexperienced co-GM situation, and then the other perks, if you will, the practice facility and all that you mentioned, Dante, again, I reiterate, I think the Nuggets better be careful. If they're just banking on Nikola's goodwill and wanting to be a lifetime Nugget, that could be a situation that ends up burning them.
Yeah, absolutely. And he could end up walking away, as we talked about earlier, for nothing if they end up not getting that extension done this offseason. And that's kind of the quick road I want to go down here because I don't think that situation's too likely. But we do have a text here from the 3211. Jokic not signing is the opposite of Brunson giving away money to win. Unless he's offering to take a cut to win, let him go. Which I would not go to that extent. I don't think the Nuggets need to get out of the Nikola Jokic business, but if anything, I think they need to kind of bend the knee at what his greatness is on the court and where he's been able to take this franchise to a championship. And there's a lot of people that grew up here in Denver that never thought the Nuggets would be able to win an NBA Finals. So the fact that he's already got one and you're still a perennial contender for the next 5 years, as long as he's here, I think that the Nuggets should be again, bending the knee a little bit to make sure that he is satisfied with his time here. Where are you at as far as Jokic's future here? Would you be willing to look at a situation where you trade him this season if he's unwilling to sign an extension? Are you willing to look at it like the way the texture is here? If he's not willing to take a pay cut, good riddance to this his time here.
I don't know about that. I would much rather spend the Cronkies' money and see them pay the tax bill to have a team around Joker that could potentially win a championship, that has a realistic shot to make a deep run. I think most of us thought, I know I did, that the moves they made last offseason were going to give them a realistic shot, and they got bounced by the team that they couldn't solve in Minnesota. And more concerning, Dante, was the fact that they didn't show a lot of fight. They didn't show a lot of sort of gusto, if you will. They just sort of rolled over and laid down when the Timberwolves came in and punked them on the court and off. And that was all very concerning. And so to me, it points to a roster makeover, but you're in a bit of a spot when you've got some contracts that aren't very good, Christian Brown's being at the top, and then you've got a free agent or a restricted free agent I think they'd like to keep in Payton Watson. And, oh, by the way, they want to stay out of all the taxes and aprons. I don't see that meshing with a championship roster. I just don't. And so what do I think will happen? I think they're going to try and piecemeal together a year in which they stay out of all the penalties. And I think it's going to mean that they're going to have to hope that Joker doesn't decide to walk after next year.
So you're saying you think there's a good chance here that we see that gap year that people around Denver have talked about, where they're maybe not as competitive as they've been the last 3 to 4 years here, and they do duck that luxury tax, restarting the repeater tax there and able to kind of get a full reset financially for the team. You think that's likely there?
I don't know about likely. I think it's more likely than a lot of people think. I think it's very possible. But again,
doesn't that go kind of directly against what Jokic is the rumors here that he might not sign that extension? You think he's going to be more inclined to sign an extension if they try to take that gap year?
No, that's the point. I think maybe I misunderstood your question. I think if they do take the gap year, I think then it becomes a very tenuous situation about Joker's tenure in Denver with a player option for the 27-28 season. So basically this is in his age 31 season upcoming, earning $59 million, going to be the last year where the organization has any real control. If they and this is why I think the organization faces such a conundrum if they are determined, as they have been, to not pay the penalties and not pay the apron penalties and stay out of the repeater tax. And the longer this goes without Joker signing that extension, the less optimistic I am that he's actually going to sign it.
It feels like you can't really do both, in my opinion. It feels like you can't promise Jokic this future here if he is trying to play hardball. And also, it feels like you can't say, hey, we're going to take a gap year during the 2026-27 season, and then we'll be more competitive financially in the future. It feels like they kind of have to pick one road or the other. Do you think there's any middle ground here where Jokic signs the extension and the Nuggets end up fielding not as competitive of a team?
Well, I hope that's what happens, and I know Zach and Phil were talking a lot about this, and they both are pretty. At least I came away feeling like they believed that Joker is going to sign the extension this summer. I'm not as convinced. I'm just really not. And I mean, ultimately, that's a ton of money to turn down. But man, oh man, he's still got a player option for 27-28 for almost $63 million. And he's made $305 in his basketball career alone. I mean, just from basketball. So, man, Dante, you know me, I'm a pretty optimistic guy. But with the Nuggets over the last year or so, I've been struggling with that because the reality is, again, what has the organization done? They've let Tim Connolly go. They've stayed out of the second apron, which I can't completely fault them for. And I'm supposed to believe they're going to pay over $200 million in tax money to put a bona fide championship contender around Joker. I have trouble with that. I hope they do. And if that's what it takes to, behind the scenes, get Joker to sign the extension, I hope they do that. But let me ask you, if you were to put a percentage chance on that happening, the Nuggets paying those taxes, what would you put it at? I'd put it under 10%, maybe under 5%.
I was up at like 40% that they end up. Based on today's news and this past weekend's news of Jokic rumored to maybe not sign that extension or thinking about not signing the extension, the report was a little ambiguous as well, which I thought was funny. But to me, it did read as that lawyer, that agent speak of, hey, you guys better play your cards right here if you're the Nuggets because we are not locked into being here if we don't have to be. So I was up to 40% after the reports this weekend.
Well, I hope you're right, and I hope it's higher than that because nobody wants to see Joker leave, and I hope the organization feels that way as well. And I do. I think you brought up an excellent point earlier. Man, oh man. I mean, when you say it's incumbent upon us to do everything we can to maximize the Joker era, and then you're potentially, it's a strong word, and it's a true word. Again, I'm willing to wait to see how this unfolds, but potentially willing to have a gap year, whatever you want to call it. Man, those two things don't jive to me. They don't mesh to me, and it's super concerning because if you're the Nuggets, why aren't you talking about acquiring, making a deal? Because let's face it, the current core of Joker, Murray, Gordon, plus the other parts is not a championship core. We saw that. Say it's because of AG's injury. I think it was more than that. I think there's, again, a culture situation where it's not a good mix. It's not a good chemistry. It's not a good fit. I think Adelman's part of that mix, and that's not going to change. And so we're not hearing about the Nuggets doing things. As Brian Windhorst said right after they were eliminated, and we played the audio, 2 weeks ago again. Look, I see the Nuggets shedding salary, shedding money. I don't know how that entices Joker to want to stay long-term.
Well, let's dive into that.
Do you?
No, I agree with you. It's hard to convince a guy that's saying, hey, we weren't good enough last year. We're probably going to be worse next year, at least at a roster construction point. And, hey, do you want to make sure you sign your future here for the next 4 to 5 years after the signs that we've seen the last 2 years here? So I don't think those two things jive well. I think it's hard to sell Jokic on a gap year if you are committed to trying to build the best team around him possible. So to me, you have to pick one of the two paths. You either have to make Jokic happy and go into that luxury tax and do the acquiring, build the best team around him, or you maybe have to look at a serious scenario where you trade Jokic if you're trying to get under this the repeater tax here and do a full reset of that franchise. So I don't think you get to have your cake and eat it too. I don't think you get to do both scenarios, in my opinion, at least.
No, and I think it's the big question in all of this that we're discussing is, what does Nikola really think? What does Joker really believe and is really okay with? Because if he signs the extension, I think he has to know, because his agent has to know, the landscape of the NBA and the realistic chances of a Nuggets title this coming season. And I'm talking in the short run. That wouldn't be the run of the extension. We know that. But then what would the chances be that the Nuggets ramp up again 2 years from now? That's what Nikola has to ask himself and answer to himself.
Yeah, you'd have to really be selling him a vision if you are planning on doing that gap year. Real quick, so you put it at a 10% chance, I want to make sure I have that correct, that the Nuggets go into the repeater tax this year?
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I just don't. I can't say zero because you never know. And I hope I'm surprised. But if they go into the taxes and pay the bill, I would be more than a little surprised. I'd be stunned.
All right, well, so we'll put it at
10%.
10%.
Put it at 10%.
What percent chance do you give that Jokic does sign his contract extension this offseason?
Yeah, I put it at probably 75. I think there's a good chance because I do think
75 still feels lower than what we would have guessed a year ago or even a couple weeks ago.
Without
correct?
a doubt. Yeah, I was probably more at the 90% chance. Like, yeah, he's going to stay. And he wants to stay. But it was also, even at the time, Dante, sort of the assumption that the Nuggets are going to give him a reason to stay. And to me right now, the onus is on the organization. What kind of moves are they going to make? And if they're not going to make the necessary moves to have a bona fide, realistic championship contender, then can they convince Joker? Does he need to be convinced? Maybe he's fine with it. But can they convince Joker that this is the vision? Do they have a vision to sell him over the next 2 to 4 years? Because, and I don't know the answers. None of us on the outside know the answers to those questions because Jokic hasn't said anything and neither has the organization. I did find Tenzer's comments, and I know Zach and Phil played them earlier about, not commenting on the talks with Jokic and his reps. League rules prevent us from doing it. That was just odd. It was an odd take then, and it's even more odd now. The silence that Jokic is operating under, to me, speaks loudly. But I also sit here not knowing how this is going to turn out. There's so much going on behind the scenes with talks and trades and deals and contracts that I have to acknowledge that I'm speculating based on what I think could happen.
Yep, very well said, Mike. And I'm going to agree with you that there is the percentage chance of him re-signing in Denver, I thought was 95% chance, let's call it. And it's definitely gone down for me, maybe not to the 75% you're talking about. I'll still put it at closer to 80. But certainly interesting times for the Nuggets, for Nikola Jokic. And we are going to dive into just what the Nuggets can do to build that better roster around them. There has been reports that Payton Watson could go for a deal in the $30 million per season kind of contract there. So we're going to break down all things around Nikola Jokic in the Denver Nuggets next.
The countdown is on. Broncos training camp is less than a month away. Rookies report July 22nd. Veterans hit Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit on the 28th. Bo Nix is expected back at full speed. Sean Payton skipping joint practices to maximize every rep. And it all builds toward a season opener on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. From camp battles to kickoff, Denver Sports has you covered. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Summer is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your tan or abs. Guys, I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to decades of thinning during Advanced Hair's once-yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and it can even grow for life. Did I mention Advanced Hair even guarantees your new hair will grow? Take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar during Advanced Hair's best offer ever. The summer sales event is on for a limited time, so schedule your free consultation and get the details today. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and get your savings details while still available. That's 720-459-HAIR. or AdvancedHair.com.
Buying or selling a home? Let a Weichert agent guide you every step of the way to get the best price on your timeline with the least amount of stress for your peace of mind. Now that's smart real estate. Weichert, the bright choice. Each Weichert franchised office is independently owned and operated.
The truck driver wasn't paying attention and crashed straight into you. Now you're paying the price. You're looking at surgeries, missed work, and more. Call the truck crash lawyers at Berg Simpson Law Firm. Berg Simpson has been helping truck crash victims for 50 years. And with over $50 million recovered after truck crashes, our results speak for themselves. Call our team today and let us fight for every dollar you deserve.
If you've been injured, call Berg Simpson for free now at 303-790-2525. BergSimpson.com. Good lawyers changing lives.
It's no secret that the checkout line feels a lot heavier. If those daily essentials are ending up on a credit card, those double-digit interest rates are quietly draining your bank account. If that debt is starting to feel heavy, you're not alone. And if you're a homeowner, you've likely looked at your mortgage rate and thought, I can't touch that. With American Financing's Smart Equity Loan, you don't have to. It allows you to wipe out high-interest debt and lower your monthly overhead while keeping your primary mortgage intact. It's a surgical strike against debt. Unlike a fluctuating HELOC, the Smart Equity Loan is a fixed-rate loan, giving you a predictable monthly payment. At American Financing, there are never any upfront fees to find out what you qualify for. Guys, talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant today. Experts who are paid to help you save, not sell you more than you need. So call them at 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hi, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. For an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments, go to drhi.com. Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right.
Colorado's largest fireworks show, 22 minutes that absolutely blow the roof off. July 4th at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. But first, the main event. Team USA takes on Portugal in the inaugural World Rugby Nations Cup with Tonga versus Zimbabwe kicking off the doubleheader. The free Fourth Fest Festival starts at 3 p.m. 2 world-class rugby matches. Then a fireworks finale that'll rattle your fillings. America's 250th. One epic night. Tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over
over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Don't care for my local hometown team, ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Don't get fooled by out-of-state private equity corporations that are buying local HVAC companies, offering higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. Don't trust your home to someone out of state when you have the best company right here in town. ROX are experts in local energy rebates and tax credits to save you money only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
It's Denver Sports Tonight on Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan.
We're rolling along on this beautiful Monday night in Denver. Denver Sports Tonight here. I'm Dante Gomez. That's Mike Rice. Just a long conversation on Nikola Jokic, his future prospects here in Denver as a Nugget after there was some reports that he is thinking about not signing a contract extension here in Denver. We're going to move on to the rest of the Nuggets roster here. Payton Watson will start there with the reports coming out of NBA camps that he could make as much as $28 to $30 million per season on his new contract here as a restricted free agent for the Denver Nuggets. Mike, I am a little bit shocked at that number. 28 to 30 million seems a little steep for a player of his talent, especially after we've seen these franchises around the NBA kind of limit their spending. We didn't see a lot of player transactions as far as trades go because of that second apron, the first apron. Teams are really monitoring their spending here. 28 to 30 million on Payton Watson does not quite feel like a team that's going to monitor their finances as far as the salary cap goes. Would you be willing to match that kind of offer if he's able to get an offer sheet from a different team like that?
Me personally, of course, because I would love to see the Cronkies spend the tax money and go into whatever apron it takes to have a great team this year. Realistically, do I think they will? Only if they are shedding salary or knowing that there's a good chance they will in other places. And that means maybe you are trading Aaron Gordon more for picks than anything else. And you're just not taking on, I mean, you have to take on a certain amount, right? But it's tricky because I don't think as the roster is currently constructed and where they are in cap space and apron space that they are going to take on another 28 to 30 million. And there's always and again, this is a little bit of a different discussion because he's a restricted, right? So they still would have the choice, but man, I mean, if you don't have a trade worked out and you agree to that kind of money, then you're basically, then other teams can say, okay, well, we'll let the Nuggets pay the tax bill and kind of stick it to them financially. Or they might say, we don't think they're going to pay the tax bill, so we're going to maybe make a higher offer because we have that space available or can create the space for a young player like Watson who showed terrific offensive upside in a way that he hadn't shown up to this point. Do you think that Payton Watson will be on this roster as it's currently constructed next year?
Meaning no coinciding moves that you were talking about with the trade?
Right.
I find it hard to believe that they would be able to keep everybody and Peyton Watson on a new contract like that. So I would say no. I do think that Peyton Watson does end up being on this roster, but I believe it's because that one of the Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Cam Johnsons end up getting traded to free up that room to have Peyton Watson on a bigger deal, though. And just real quick to summarize what a restricted free agent deal looks like. Peyton Watson can go out to other teams and try to find the best deal possible for himself, and then the Nuggets would have the option to match that contract that he's looking at from those other teams. Obviously it would take two teams. I don't think the Nuggets are going to beat the rest of the league to the punch and offer Peyton Watson this massive contract. I think they're going to make Watson go out and find that big deal, and then at that point they will decide if they want to keep him or not. I think they should keep him. He is the perfect modern day wing in the NBA. He's tall, he's lengthy, he's defensive minded. He can shoot the ball. We saw his offense explode this last season here in January, especially without Nikola Jokic out there when he was asked to step up. However, I think there's a scenario where if you do try to match that $28-30 million per year deal, this ends up looking like a pretty bad contract itself. We were talking about bad contracts that are already on the books for the Nuggets. I don't know if they can afford to have another bad contract. And at that price tag, I think that would be the conversation a year from now, similarly to how we're having that conversation about Christian Brown.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the Watson money is fascinating when you look at what the Nuggets players are scheduled to earn in 26-27. Aaron Gordon's extension will kick in at $32 million. So Peyton Watson and Gordon will be in his age 31 season. Watson's 4 years younger, 5 years younger?
I think he's 24.
Oh, is he that young?
Yeah,
okay. Substantially.
He got in the NBA draft pretty early.
He did. And I was just looking to see if I had that in front of me, and I don't. He will. You're right. He'll be in his age 24 season. So substantially younger and wants to earn in the ballpark of the same amount of money. And he had the injury history this year, but hasn't had the injury history over the last few seasons. So if you're going to sign, let's just put Watson at 30. I think that's going to wind up being a little bit high. I don't think he'll actually sign for an AAV of 30 a year. That's just a personal opinion. I think it could be 25-ish, maybe 27. I don't think it's going to hit 30. Wouldn't surprise me if it did. But let's just say it is 30. If you trade Aaron Gordon and don't take on significant salary, which again is it's what the NBA is trying to do, I mean, you're breaking even with Watson and Gordon. If you didn't take on any more salary and you signed Peyton Watson and dealt Aaron Gordon, I don't. The Nuggets are going to, I think, have to make a series of moves that get them or keep them where they want to be financially. And I think it's going to be tricky. I don't think it'll be impossible because you could always let Watson walk and just say, well, we're not taking on any. And then you could trade Gordon and then be under $30 million or thereabouts. So do I think that Watson will be on this roster as it's currently constructed? No possible way. Zero chance of that happening in my mind.
Well, that would kind of go against the idea that Nikola Jokic obviously wants to build the best team around him. We talked about that very much in the first segment. I want to play a quick little game with you here. I'm going to have you rank these next 5 players on the likelihood that they're back in Denver. All right, so we got Peyton Watson, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Cam Johnson, Christian Brown. Rank those 1 through 5, 1 being the most likely that they're back here in Denver. Actually, let's flip that. We'll go 5 is the most likely that they're here in Denver. 1 is the most likely that they're not on the roster.
Okay, so least likely is 1, most likely is 5.
Correct.
And you did not prep me with this.
I did not. I can go first if you want.
No.
Or you got it on the fly here?
Well, I think I do have it on the fly. I think the most likely to be back would be Murray, Gordon, Johnson, Brown, and Watson. I will say Christian Brown would be the most likely to be back. Who's your most likely?
I also have Christian Brown just because of the contract. It doesn't feel like something that's going to be tradable too easy.
Right, and I think they're banking on Brown to rebound, to be healthy, and to rebound and to be back to what we saw his first couple of years when it was like, okay, you're going to pay him that much? That's a lot for a guy who's 2 years in, but okay, I can stomach that.
Yeah, I think they want him to rebound, shoot, and pass the ball.
I think who's your next likely?
Oh, come on, Mike. That was a good joke.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you even?
No, of course I heard it.
Well, there wasn't a lot of reaction.
No, there wasn't. I kind of just
we can move
scooted
on.
right by
My
it.
bad jokes. We can move on.
Well, if it's a bad joke, then what kind of reaction do you want? You want me to rip you? No, you don't. And I'm not that kind of guy anyway. I love your bad jokes, except that one. All right, the next most likely guy in my mind to be back, we've got Murray, Gordon, Johnson, and Watson left. I would say the next most likely guy would be Payton Watson. I think they're going to find a deal for they're going to find a way to keep him. I think they realize that they need to keep him, and they need to keep him because he's the type of player that the Spurs and the Thunder have. He represents sort of the new era, if you will, of the Nuggets, longer, leaner, defensive-minded, and if the front office and Josh Kroenke have not learned by now that it's that athletic ability, it's the defensive-minded toughness that wins in the playoffs, at least as the NBA stands right now, then I have less hope for the Nuggets than I thought I did.
So I went with Murray as my fourth
Okay.
most likely to be back here. I guess to not be moved. I'm doing a lot of double negatives there. But after Christian Brown, I think it's Jamal Murray just because he also has a really difficult contract to be moved. And there's reports that the Boston Celtics aren't interested in Jamal Murray's services. And it felt like there was some momentum there between Jaylen Brown for Jamal Murray kind of trade. But I don't know if there's going to be any takers for Jamal Murray. I have Payton Watson at my number 2, a little bit higher in terms of most likely not to be back on this roster, just because it's the easiest move for the Nuggets to make in terms of all they have to do is not match the offer sheet that he gets from a different team. So it feels like that could be their course of action if they're unable to trade guys like Murray, Gordon, or Cam Johnson.
Yeah, I would put Murray third as far as he's the guy who I think after Watson is most likely to be back. Brown, next most likely Watson, third most likely is Murray. I do think there's a chance they can move Murray. The question's going to be, what's their floor in terms of return? And if it's pennies on the dollar, and it's like we've got to get rid of that number of 50.1 million next year, then they can move him. That's why I sort of put him in the middle. I just don't know. I know the Nuggets like him, but I don't know if they feel that number is going to fit with where they want to be. So he would be the third guy for me.
All right, and then we'll just cap it off here with your 1 and 2. I had Cam Johnson as the most likely to be moved this offseason. And then, like I already said, I had Payton Watson as the second most likely to be moved.
I think second most likely is is Cam Johnson, and the most likely to be moved is Aaron Gordon.
Oh, wow. So Aaron Gordon, number 1 in terms of most likely not to be on the roster out of those 5 guys. Is that just because you think that there's a lot of demand as far as the trade would go?
I think there's still perceived value in Aaron, and I think with the injury history, there will always be teams that say, yeah, but it's not going to happen to us because of ABCD and our program and all of that. And I think his number is pretty affordable for a guy of his ability and his accomplishments. The biggest downside to Aaron is the recent injury history, and I think teams are going to be willing to take a risk when it's air quotes only $31 million this year and then another 60 or 70 for the 2 years after that. It's a relatively affordable contract for a guy with his experience and his skill level.
Yeah, well, we see that pretty differently. Obviously, we both think Christian Brown is the most likely to return out of those 5. But after that, me and you, very jumbled lists there. There's another guy in that Play Sports in downtown Denver that could be here for the long haul, could be a trade piece this offseason. Me and Mike will dive into that next.
Colton, Drury, and Nichushkin all gone. New faces are already in the fold, with the entire blue line back as well after a Western Conference final sweep that still stings. How will the Avs retool around McKinnon for another cup run? Every trade, every signing, every take. Denver Sports has you covered all summer long. Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
Jake from State Farm. I just beat my running PR, so I'm celebrating with the Banana Bonanza smoothie.
Hey, and you can keep celebrating when you create an affordable price just for you by bundling your home and auto with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. Go bananas.
I will. Hey, make it a large.
Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a social media manager.
Did you just post our Q4 earnings to your personal social media?
Oh yeah, used the trending audio and everything.
That's confidential financial data.
Relax. It only went a little viral.
The SEC just commented with the eyeball watching emoji.
This is time for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Okay, I admit it. At 303 Law 4040, we like to have a little fun with the made-for-TV lawyers who pretend that they're from Colorado. In reality, they live in places like Chicago, Arizona, Texas. Heck, one guy flies in from New York City. New York City! Just so he can do his commercial and fly back home. Crazy thing happening here in Colorado. Outside private equity funds are pouring millions of advertising dollars to prop up these guys and get them to pretend they are local voices that you can trust. So what really happens when you call one of those pretend made-for-TV lawyers? Here's an example. A young man was hurt. He called one of those guys. The insurance company said, nah, we're denying the claim. No money for you. His made-for-TV lawyer said, sorry. So his friend said, you need to call 303 Law 4040. We took the case and told the insurance company their denial was BS. And they said, you're right. Here's all the money. If you've been injured, don't waste your time calling a pretend made-for-TV lawyer. Call 303 Law 4040. Go ahead, save that number in your phone. It's 303 Law 4040.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity. Usually when something sounds way too good to be true, it is. Imagine someone says you can cut your mobile bill in half. Sounds like a fantasy, but with Xfinity Mobile, it's a real deal. Because when you have Xfinity Internet, you can cut your mobile bill in half. Plus, try Xfinity Mobile free for a year. No commitment. That's a lot of streaming, sharing, scrolling, and whatever else you can do with your phone, all all for half the price and none of the commitment. What that means, you'll save big over Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. Now all you have to do is think about how you'll spend all that extra money. Call 1-800-XFINITY, go to XfinityMobile.com, or visit a local Xfinity store to switch today. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Savings compare one line of Xfinity Mobile Select to comparable plans from T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T as of 3/24/26. Taxes and fees extra. $30 monthly discount limited to new mobile customers only. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
This segment on The Fan brought to you by Denver Roof Pros.
Stream Stokely and Evans with Mark Schlereth, Dover and Cecil, The Drive, and all your favorite shows on the Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan app. Powered by Advanced Tax Solutions. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports Station 104.3 The Fan presents
show earlier today. Their take on the situation: Hunter Goodman needs a long-term contract here in Denver. We've also heard some more national media talking about Hunter Goodman could be a trade piece at the deadline this year, and probably fetch a pretty good return. Where are you at with Hunter Goodman and his future as a Colorado Rocky?
Yeah, I think they should, again, to spend the Monfort's money. I think
you're all about spending these other people's money,
course.
Mike. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but seriously, this is the exact kind of player that the Rockies need to keep. And the sooner they get the extension done, number one, it's less expensive. And number two, you're saving on the back end because part of that exchange for the security is going to be delaying free agency for Hunter Goodman. It takes 6 years to get to free agency. And Hunter Goodman is a long ways from that. He really is. And
I believe 2030 would be free agency.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. And I mean, let's go right to, because I know it's the elephant in the room. Ezekiel Tovar got the extension, a 7-year extension, $63.5 million. And they're about at the same points in their career, Goodman and Tovar. Tovar was in the midst of his first year as a starter. Even though he had much better power numbers that 2024 season when he got the extension than he does now and has had since, he also showed high strikeouts. He struck out 200 times, so that trend was already in place when he got the extension. Here's my question. If you don't want to give Hunter Goodman, if you're the Rockies, an extension, or if you're a Rockies fan and do not are not a proponent of that, what are the top couple of reasons that you wouldn't want to invest, say, $70 million over 6 or 7 years? Maybe it's $80 million, maybe it's $12 million a year, maybe it's $13 a year, and it's scaling, so it's more as that contract goes on. Why wouldn't you want to do that with a guy who is off to this kind of start? When you're an organization that is thirsting for somebody, guys to, and I know we're out of time, guys to, be productive.
No, absolutely. If you're not going to give him a contract extension, who are you looking to give a contract extension to? He's been one of the bright spots of this Rockies team this year and last year. Second in the MLB right now in home runs, just behind Kyle Schwarber, who's absolutely mashing the baseball. So no discredit there for being second. But maybe that's not what he's looking for. Maybe he wants more than 12 to 13 million per year. But I would go as high as even like 20, like low 20s for Hunter Goodman for an AAV to keep him here, keep him under team control. He is a good catcher, not just for the Rockies. He's a good catcher for any team in baseball. And if you have a guy that's that level of compared to his position, you want to keep that guy here.
Fair to say this conversation for the two of us will be continued.
Yes, we will definitely have to revisit the Hunter Goodman extension talks. That'll do it for Denver Sports tonight. Thank you everyone out there for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be myself and Marcello Romano breaking down everything in Denver Sports.
The Rockies aren't winning the West, but they might be one of the most fun teams in baseball now. Rookie TJ Rumfield is raking. Hunter Goodman's launching homers at a rate that has all-star voters and trade deadline scouts paying attention. Mickey Moniak is back healthy, and Sensatella's having a career year out of the bullpen. The trade deadline's August 3rd. Who stays? Who goes? What's the new front office building toward? Denver Sports is all over it. Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Will?
When I was 50, my whole life fell apart. I lost my job, I lost my wife, I lost the house, I lost pretty much everything except for my life. When the IRS came calling, I just didn't have it in me. I felt like Wile E. Coyote, just waiting for that IRS anvil to drop.
Then Will found Tax Relief Advocates.
I heard their advertisement on the radio, I wrote down the number, and I made the call that changed everything. The IRS gave me a bill for $40,000. Tax Relief Advocates got that down to $3,200. I've paid 9 cents on the dollar. Now that's a great deal in anybody's book.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Will did and call TRA for a consultation.
But for me, the real win is I got my life back.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-488-2578. 800-488-2578. That's 800-488-2578.
Hey, Colorado, do you hear that? Not really? That's the sound of your neighbor Gary mowing his lawn at 6 a.m. with his new electric lawn equipment. Gary got 30% off with a statewide discount on all new electric lawnmowers, trimmers, and leaf blowers. Don't sleep on this great deal. Statewide discount only through the end of 2026. Learn more at simplestepsbetterair.org. Again, that's simplestepsbetterair.org.
Well, Lorenzo, the pitch looked good.
Yeah, so green.
USA keeper was decent enough.
Didn't have much to do.
99 minutes.
Not a single goal. Well, Bet365 sure came through, though. I bet $10 and got $150 in bonus bets, just for signing up.
At least someone scored.
Bet365. Winning is everything. Gambling problem?